Hey everyone, Dr. Frunky here with a fun new unboxing video. This is the first time to feature a Spyderco in a little while. I had a bunch of them early on in the channel, but it's been a minute since I had one. The reason that I have this knife in front of us, this is the Spyderco Myrtle, is because it was actually discontinued this year. Spyderco just released a list of knives that were discontinued. Among them were some knives that I was really curious about, and I think the one that I was most curious about was this one, the Myrtle, and that's because it's just sort of a weird knife. This is the information that they included with it, a little bit of information about the designer, Filip de Leeuw. He's a Belgian knife maker. He makes some interesting looking knives out there, a lot of them with this type of blade shape. They talk about the materials and how to take care of it. I love this information that they include on these unique knives. Now this one has only been around for a couple of years and it's being discontinued, and that's because a lot of people didn't buy this knife, and that's for a number of reasons, and we'll get into that. But namely, I think the reason that most people didn't buy this knife is the blade. This is a very strange looking blade shape, and I think that a lot of people were curious about it, but not curious enough to spend the $215 that this was being sold for at most of the major distributors. Now, because it's discontinued, it's selling for about $150 to $160. I got this one for $160 at Knife Center. A week later, Blade HQ dropped the price to $150. So it's for sale right now at Blade HQ for $150. And what you're getting is a pretty good package for that price point, in my opinion. At $215, maybe not, but definitely at $150, I think this represents a pretty good value, at least for the materials involved. We'll have to make a decision together about whether or not this blade shape is useful or just too weird to really be considered. So, speaking of the blade shape, let's break this down anatomically. Up front, we have a beautiful satin finished S30V blade, Spyderco's tried and true S30V, the one that they do most of their blade steels in, or blades in, and they do a good job. The heat treat is good. It sharpens easily. I had a Para 3 in S30V a while back. I kind of complained about it, but it did sharpen very easily. And so those complaints are kind of minor. If you can easily sharpen the steel, that sort of makes it really good. But the problem with this one is, even though it's an easily sharpenable steel, it's not really an easily sharpenable blade shape. It's got a double recurve hawkbill, and it's an odd blade shape. I think this is the main reason that people didn't buy this knife, was the blade shape. I think secondarily, S30V is a nice steel. It works fine, but on a weird sort of premium knife like this, you might expect a slightly more upscale steel, like an XHP or at least an S35. You might even see an S110 or an S90. You know, that might have been interesting on this knife and a bit more compelling. I bet it would have sold more in a weird blade steel like that, just because of the knife snobs out there, the steel snobs. It is beautifully finished in classic Taichung, Taiwan fashion. That is where it's made. That is listed right here on the back. It's got a very sharp Spidey hole, and that's a bit of a problem because that's the only way to deploy this knife. In fact, that Spidey hole sits in an odd position where it's a little bit too deep into the bolster right there, and it's not accessible from the back. Another reason I don't think people bought it, because you can't really Spidey flick this knife. Now, you can give it some a good push and it will open, and I think this will continue to smooth out. This may never get to be fully drop shutty smooth, but we'll see. It does run on phosphor bronze washers. I've already disassembled this knife. I tried to polish them up a little bit on my stones, put some lube in there. It's sort of helped the action a little bit, but not immensely, but it will fly open if you give it a solid push. Again, phosphor bronze washers. Moving back to the handles here, we have beautiful handles. This is one of my favorite parts of the knife, honestly. It's very ergonomic, very nice shape. It's got titanium bolsters, beautiful marbled carbon fiber scale right there. G10 backspacer. This side is fully contoured because of the bolster and the carbon fiber that are put onto that liner right there, titanium liner. This side is totally flat, titanium lock side. Reeve integral lock style. Frame lock. Very solid lockup. Oops, sorry. fairly late, not ultra early, you know, maybe 50%, something like that. Very solid lockup though. It did have a little bit of lock stick when I first got it. There's a little bit of grittiness to it. Threw a little number 2 pencil on the lock face and on the blade tang when I took it apart, and it really smoothed it out a whole lot, so I can't really complain anymore about that. That happens sometimes with these all titanium on steel locks. That's okay. How does it carry? Well, ergonomically, it's very, very nice. Fits in the hand beautifully. That handle shape is very comfortable. There aren't really any hot spots. Even this very strange looking clip back here does not provide any hot spots. I would say it's not the most comfortable to tuck your finger right into that groove. If you choke it up a little bit, almost like a Sabenza, it's very comfortable in that grip. There's no jimping up here, but there's a bit of a thumb ramp effect, so you get a nice positive grip on the knife right there. Let's see, it's a little bit heavy. It's a beefy knife here, and it's a sizable one. Let's see what the actual weight is. 5.02 ounces. So 5 ounces, that's not too bad. That's carryable for me. But it's definitely not going to be a lightweight, and this is not going to really be your everyday carry special kind of knife. This is if you're feeling a bit funky. So let's go ahead and bring out some other knives for size comparisons. I think a very apt comparison here is the Paramilitary 2. So the Para is smaller in every dimension. The handle is smaller, the blade is smaller, but it's a much more everyday carry friendly package right here. I can just leave that out right there. I'll bring out a Zero Tolerance 0055. This one is an important comparison because I'm going to be sending this knife off to get customized. I'm going to try out a new customizer this time. We're going to be sending it to Spade Knifeworks. He's going to put a nice clean edge on it, and then he's going to try his hand at a Frunky green. I'll go ahead and bring out a 0392 BRN GLD. Very similar in overall size profile, really very similar. So this is a big knife. It's a little bit bigger than the 0392, but you get 3.7 inches of blade on this one. Go ahead and bring out a couple of other knives. I've got here the 0606 BLK, a much bigger knife. Here's another sort of strange looking knife right here. This is the Gavco Shrunk Trasher. Definitely love that Shrunk Trasher. That is the perfect everyday carry knife in my opinion right now. I'm loving it so much. I'll go ahead and, just for everyone's fun, throw out the BBM, the Carter collab right there with Nick Chuprin. Here's a Mass Drop and Ferrum Forge and We Knives Falcon. I have a whole bunch of knives here for comparison. How about this? Here's a Jake Hoback Quieback. We've got a Hinderer MP1. Just all types of blades for comparing and contrasting the size of this. So I think you're going to get a sense that this is a pretty big knife, a pretty beefy knife. And definitely have to consider that when you're choosing your knives for everyday carry. Now, this one is really just going to be an experiment here. Tell me what you guys think about this knife down below. This is obviously not the ideal EDC knife, but it is certainly something interesting to have in the collection. And it will be a fun project knife. I'm going to see how far I can take it and how cool it can become. And who knows, this may become part of the a channel sort of promotion later on. So thank you guys for watching. Click like and subscribe to my YouTube channel here. Head over to Instagram and check me out at Dr. Frunky. And this one, when you see it next, will probably have some pretty major enhancements going on. So thanks guys for watching, and as always, this is Dr. Frunky saying take care.